To have you. You're welcome to the press review. On press review, it's audience participatory, and we're here to see what the papers are saying today, and of course, stories making the headlines on ABS website. In the studio, I have our guest this morning. Could you please let us... Okay, we have a guest this morning, a public affairs analyst, Mr. Kingsley Ugu, joining us for the press review. You're welcome to the studio, Kingsley.
Thank you. Good morning, Anambra. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning anywhere you are watching us or reaching us live. Thank you.
All right, we'll begin with looking at stories making the headlines on ABS website. Soludo seeks partnership with TED Fund to assist state tertiary institutions. Anambra State Deputy Governor Ibezim urges APGA members to back Soludo to deliver vision. Anambra Police Command to screen applicants for 9th regular course intake of Nigeria Police Academy. Police Academy Woodhill, Kano State on Monday next week. All right, we know that our governor traveled to Abuja I think on Wednesday, and it's like he used one stone to kill two birds at a time. All right, part of the visit, he visited the vice president, of course, had to go to TED Fund to seek collaboration with them.
Thank you so much. You've said it all, and I want to start, by commending the governor. He's actually proving, that he means business, to transform this state, to the next level, For him actually to seek partnership, with private sectors and individuals, to help revamp, the education system in the state, I think is commendable, especially at this point, that the education sector is suffering, is passing through, a milestone in the sense that nearly 8 months or more than 8 months now, since February 14th, our children, our brothers, our younger brothers, sisters, all of them, they've been at home, not doing anything. I think it should be a concern to anybody who believes in education as a tool to transforming and building a nation. Our own climb is not different, because if we actually mean business, and when I say mean business, if we are sincere to ourselves, that we have to make Nigeria a country, that will compete with our counterparts, all over the world, I think they must first of all go back to education system. They must revive their education, and we've seen what education at the federal level is suffering right now. So if our governor has taken it upon himself to ensure that at least from there could be a leeway, from the state, I think it's a good thing, and then he should be commended, and not just oral commendation. Good, well-meaning Nigerians, well-meaning the Anambra, we have, people who have the good spirit, to assist not only the government, but even the people themselves. I think it's a good thing that they all pull their eggs together and then help move the state education forward.
All right, quickly, the Daily Sun newspaper is the first paper we are looking at this morning. Latest stories making the headlines on the Daily Sun newspaper. Wike to unveil preferred presidential candidates. We have riders there. Rivers governor rules out quitting PDP. Party leaders to hold zonal peace meetings to end crisis. Atiku still open to reconciliation. Spokesman talking. Governor Emmanuel tells IU others to keep their promises. Amotekun to bear arms in Ondo. Akeredolu. Khan inaugurates a political strategy committee ahead 2023 election. Lai Mohammed Atiku clash over blueprint economy. Why Nigeria is in forex crisis, CBN, court order FG has declared war on us. As we're speaking, we tried that reps summon SGF Ngige, others over strike. China not planning to take over Nigeria's critical assets over debt repayment, says envoy. INEC urges compliance with extant laws during campaigns. And we have NDP, Nigeria to spend 49.7 trillion naira on capital projects in 4 years. That you'll see on page 25 of the paper. An FG to confer national honors on October 1. NNPC, U.S. Corporation, Exim Bank sealed deal on gas projects. A lot of stories in front of the Sun newspaper.
Yeah, I think let's begin with the banner headline.
Banner headlines, okay.
Wike to unveil preferred presidential candidate. Yes, over time now, we've seen a lot of things, happening within the political parties in Nigeria, both the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the All Progressive Congress Party (APC). They've been in a situation, that had actually given a lot of Nigerians, concern. And I think the electorate, has been following developments so far. And as it is, all eyes, all attention now geared towards 2023. What will be the outcome, given what's obtained presently? So I think it's a source of worry to everybody, because PDP has been in a crisis situation over time now. And of course, by Wednesday or thereabout, I think a campaign should commence. And we are still seeing bickerings, we are still seeing crisis here and there. People trying to pull this, the roof over the parties, they find themselves in. Is it not intriguing?
This issue of PDP and Wike and all whatever they are fighting for has been in the news for some time now. So yesterday, when Wike was actually trying to say that he's fighting for equity and justice, people started talking, people started criticizing both on the traditional media and social media that if actually Wike was trying to fight for fair justice and fairness, that it should be, taking that the PDP should have gone to the presidential candidates should have come from the southeast. So I don't know whether that was the reason that Wike is now trying to say that he's going to unveil his preferred candidates, presidential preferred candidates soon.
Well, I was building up to to where we are, because for him at this point to say he's going to unveil his presidential candidate soon shows that there is no much consensus as we speak, because if there has been a truce based on what has been going on, definitely party members, his colleagues must have known his position. But as it is obvious that nothing concrete could be said to have taken place. So I was building up to where you are now. As it is, there has been dispute in the party, and we've gotten to a time that the campaign is already about to take off. Yet the party is not in order.
All right, let's see who's here before we go on. Hello.
Hello,
Good morning. Your name and your location, please. You're welcome.
I'm back at the level.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You're welcome.
Nigerian people now PDP, Atiku, Wike, and Makinde, and also Kadanako. And I go to Tinubu, Shetima, a Muslim ticket. Even when the major issue to tackle in life in Nigeria, when we don't have security. All the wisdom, because even that movement, it shows that other political parties, they are not obedient. And this time around, Nigeria, especially youth, they decided to be an obedient people, to cast out their votes and bring out a good leader who can make things to be easier down to the grassroots. So let's start with all these poor people who cannot afford their meal in one meal per day. So that is why they are saying we are now to be obedient. Those people use crisis in their political party, PDP, they are not obedient. Atiku is not obedient. Wike is not obedient. Tinubu is not obedient. Obedient. Once there is obedience, things will be moving forward. Because Bible said, obey is better than sacrifice. They are not obeying. Because if they enter here tomorrow, things will remain the same. So that is why we don't want to be hearing their crisis on our newspaper every day. Let them go home and sit down and put their house in order so that before coming out to do election. That is all my take. I'm not going to go about and
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. I think we need to move to the Punch newspaper right now. Let's see stories on the Punch. Or you still have something to say? Okay, you can still say it as we go on. Now, Atiku, PDP, dare Wike, Makinde begin campaigns Wednesday. Lamido, Olafeso Momodu, other heavyweights back party, preach peace. PDP Governors Forum to meet Ayu, Atiku, Okowa, say Tambuwal, Wabara. BOT meets Wike today. Rivers Governor vows to remain in PDP, fight for equity. Electricity consumers pay 210 billion naira in 3 months. We have rate hikes may trigger recession. World Bank warns federal government. UNGA, Buhari woes investors. Says Nigeria requires 348 trillion naira. Dogara Lawal can't intimidate Tinubu on Muslim ticket. Nigeria needs help to tackle debt burden. AFDB speaking. We have ASU appeals ruling says if FG has declared war. Presidential candidate signed peace pact Thursday. Hoodlums ransack, loot Ogun school. Pupils sent home. Military to bombard bandits, ask residents to relocate. 245 killed in Kaduna community attack, says Monarch. And Akeredolu fumes as FG denies Amotekun firearms license. All right. A lot of stories in front of the Punch newspaper. So which one?
Yes, you can see, that PDP story is like it's making headline in all the papers, we are reviewing this morning, So I want to appeal to our last caller, because everybody, I think it is a pulse of everybody, that we keep recycling the same story, but it's not the issue of, it's not an issue, with the media. It is trending stories, the things that happen on daily basis, because sometimes we run on security. If we had not talked about a political crisis today, it would have still have gone back to insecurity, because that's exactly where we are on daily basis. So as it is, we are at crossroads, because instead of the electorate studying the manifestos of political parties to know the one that will give them edge in the next dispensation, they are bombarded with party crisis. But be that as it may, it is still a ground for them to make a decisive decision on which path to follow and who to pitch tent with. So having said this, I want to appeal to Nigerians that it is where we are and how we find things within our climate. So
all
we
right,
have to deal
let's
with
see
that and then move on.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Your name and your location, please.
Allow me to talk on ASU strike is the federal government court order.
All right.
I see Ambassador Lady that spoke to
Okay, go ahead. Go
all
ahead.
people say you can't say the outcome of the judgment from Wednesday. The court just sit one day and make a final decision immediately by telling us to call off their strike. And I call off strike when nothing has been done. The type of Nigeria and the type of people I when our politics and our law, judiciary, more than the for now, house will strike, and there is a big problem between the federal government and the ASU. The potential security has a I thank God for us. I got a big court. Let's now and wait and see who is wrong and who is right. All who pay by it, down or teacher, and they my anytime. Who I can't want by a name when you want it. It's not to be done. Make a federal government in there, yes, they have it done. Because of the federal government, because of president guy, I can't have you see the clear judgment. Why not? I say that man, I hear that man. Make an election has to declare who is winning immediately. It goes to the all the time, the name and the camera, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Why not this man the camera?
Okay, thank you very much. You've made your point. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. The Guardian is next in our lineup. Let's see stories on The Guardian. Akeredolu flays federal government's refusal to allow Amotekun bear arms. That's the banner headline in front of The Guardian newspapers. We have riders there. If Katsina can, Ondo will, governor insists. State police is inevitable, says Senate spokesperson. Horewa seeks National Assembly probe on president's refusal to grant Benue Southwest request for arms. 2023, police ban use of Amotekun ESN for election campaigns. Still on The Guardian newspaper, we have Burna Boy makes history as UK's Afrobeat chart show marks 1 year. NNPC, US corporation, Exim Bank sealed deal on gas project. Cholera kills 10 in Gombe. 2023 National Peace Committee decries hateful attacks, asks politicians to sign peace accord. And we can see interrogating cost of undergraduate education in federal state varsities. Interrogating cost of undergraduate education in federal and state universities. And FG Atiku trade words over economic blueprint. Okay, can we look at the banner headline? We've seen it in the other papers that the federal government has refused to give license for Amotekun to bear arms. And the governor is insisting that if there's a state he called, Katsina can, that they will. So I don't know what actually is going on here.
Well, thank you so much. I think at this point, I would want to say that if you are living in a glass house, it's a hackneyed saying now. You don't have to throw stones. Yes, and if you want to come to equity, definitely you have to come with clean hands. So for Governor Akeredolu of Ondo State, he's making a point. When you look at it, from the perspective of fairness, equity, and justice. Because the context there is Amotekun has been denied the right to bear firearms, not arms. A certain category of firearms. So at that point, the governor was challenging the fairness, the justice there, if a similar request could be granted security, the same non-state actors, security agency in Katsina State, which is equivalent to that of Amotekun in West. So if that of the Katsina should be granted the right to bear such arms, why would Amotekun not be granted the same right? So I think that's where the difference anchors. But be that as it may, It is not as if I am advocating for these non-state actors to be using sophisticated firearms. No, because they've not actually proven that we can entrust such weapons into their hands. But as a matter of fact, our security agencies should live up to expectation, up to their responsibilities, because if Boko Haram had not been using sophisticated firearms, I think there wouldn't even have been these heightened calls for state police, regional police, and all this stuff, But because the security system in our climate has, or had in the past seriously failed, I think it has triggered that call. So be that as it may, there must be fair play, because we are not operating one country, two systems. You cannot say that a certain region cannot operate in this way. We have a constitution, and we should be guided by that constitution, no matter whose ox is God, no matter who is concerned, no matter who is involved. So by the time we establish fairness, equity, and justice, then the situation will even judge itself. So I want to say that, in the first instance, I don't think it is right for them to bear sophisticated arms. But what is good for the gander, let it be good for the goose.
All right, quickly, the Daily Trust newspaper is next in our lineup. Buhari to investors, capital inflow, our major challenge. Capital inflow, our major challenge. We traders categorize our stolen crude as blood oil carry. Nigeria needs help to tackle debt burden. Additional, Emefiele, interest rate will continue to rise. 2023 IGP puts police commanders on alert. Bars Amotekun, ESN, others from election campaigns. Warns politicians against violence and hate speech. Abdusalami Committee invites Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, others for peace accord. Still on the Daily Trust newspaper, ASU, NTTDA says, NITDA says IPPIS, OTAS failed integrity test as reps summon SGF, AGF, others. Governor BOT in fresh move to resolve PDP crisis. Police kill 16-year-old artisan, injure 2 others in Jos. And that's just about it on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Right, Kingsley?
Yeah, as we go with the banner headline there, Buhari to investors, capital inflow, our major challenge. I think this is laughable. I must say this. Laughable in the sense that how do you expect investors, to pack their luggage and head? If you are an investor, a foreign investor, for instance, given this, the scenario in Nigeria today, what is the greatest motivating factor, that would actually prompt you to come to Nigeria and invest, knowing fully well that whatever you recoup from the country, you are not even too sure of enjoying that security-wise. So I think, when there is security, then the prospect of investment will be broadened. But because of insecurity, I do not think anybody would expect Nigeria to get to the economic El Dorado at this level. So for him to cry right now that capital inflow is our major challenge, I think it requires that they should be leadership should be circumspect in all the policies they have given to their subject, and then examine critically how that had actually helped the system to grow. So if actually we are having an inflow of a capital inflow issue, it is a fallout of how far the leadership has performed. And I think they are invariably judging themselves, because now it is a time we actually tell ourselves the truth. There's no point window dressing issues at this critical time. So be that as it may, they have to go back to the basics, even if it is these few months remaining. If they have to reverse some policies that had actually gotten Nigeria, stuck at a particular point. I think it is time to let go of those policies and allow things to move smoothly.
All right, the program is Press Review with Kingsley Oku in the studio, and it's audience participatory for your information. And of course, you can call to make your own input on any issue raised here. We're moving on to this day newspaper now. This day, lawmakers lament as Nigeria's debt reaches an all-time high of 42.84 trillion naira. Lawmakers lament as Nigeria's debt reaches an all-time high of 42.84 trillion naira. 36 states FCT owe 5.281 trillion naira local debt. Lagos tops list with 797.3 billion naira. House decries crude oil theft seeks solution. Menace driving economy into coma. Lawan cries out. Assures INEC of National Assembly support to achieve transparent, credible polls next year. Buhari requests NAS approval of 402 billion naira to settle debts to exporters. States wants endorsement of promissory notes for Yobe, KB, Taraba roads. And Jonathan, my 2015 concession call, collective decision to save Nigeria. We also see Lawan out, Ababio Umahi in as INEC releases final list for national elections. And at United Nations General Assembly, Sanwo-Oluwo's foreign investors to Lagos says state safest in Nigeria. All right, let's see. Lawmakers lamenting, and I want to ask on behalf of Nigerians, were they not the ones approving all these loans all this while? Why are they lamenting now?
Thank you. That's $1 million, $1 million naira question, because, and if I say the $1 million, pardon me, because we've actually reduced our naira to insignificant level, and at least the serious ones, would always be, the force we would want to reckon with. So having said this, yes, you have now seen, how preposterous, it could be, for people to take orders, for a ride, because it shows clearly that these people are crying wolf. Why do I say this? Because the lawmakers, they are there in their primary function of making law and their oversight function of doing what? Checking the excesses of both the executive and other arms of the government. But what has been going on? They are so concerned with their personal interest and welfare, and had forgotten that consequences, there are consequences for their omissions and commissions. So, and that's where we are, because we are talking about debt burden on Nigeria. It is not just in our own generation.
All right, let's see who is here. Hello, good morning. Okay, you're welcome. All right, go ahead.
All this loan and they within a life in Nigeria. All going to go and in a rope. Money there will tell you loan. I go on actually we will loan. For example, 100 naira. Naka Jimamata. Muma and then Munahano, Emma approve with that 100 naira. Go look at you. I don't want to I saw 300 naira. You man to 100 naira and you were before. They guys were used.
Accountability.
Good food or you know you the good food. You know that is name approve. The potential kids are not in the element. No men doubt for them. How can I put up over and work for lamentation on the day?
Thank you very much. Okay, I know that story that is our people will always say that that someone who was at the United Nations General Assembly wooing investors to come to Lagos while our president was there pleading with them to cancel all the debts. I don't know, how do we reconcile their being part of the United Nations General Assembly that just ended?
Would you be surprised, that things happen at such conundrum rate, in the sense that it is even difficult to follow the, things the way they happen here, because you think you are going on the right side, and then you critically take a look at those things, the direction we are going, you find out either 20% is going on the right side, 40 is going on the left side, and then maybe another 30 will be stuck in the middle. So there is confusion. So just like we started off before the last caller, we must rise to the occasion of telling ourselves the truth, because we make mockery of ourselves, with these hypocritical approaches, when you begin to shade, to cast wool over the people's eyes, how long do you think, you can, or how far do you think you can drive that? Some things, don't fly. So if someone believes that, of course, he was using that Lagos is the safest state in Nigeria to woo investors. Good and fine. I don't have any issue with that. If Lagos is the safest state, let it be good. But how real is that claim? What are the measurements, that gave him, the premise to arrive at that? And do we even have security situation? Of course, that is an admission of the level of insecurity we are passing through. It is not about projecting we are safe. It's all about how the international communities, how they see you. Because they too, they have their eyes, they have their ears, and they have their minds to, make.
They also have their representatives.
You understand? So it's not about going to the media. It's not about making fuse about it or making noise about it.
Okay.
So we go back to the drawing board and tell ourselves the truth. And reconstruct a leeway that could take us, to a brighter
future. All right. The Daily Independent newspaper now. Let's see. Stories on the Daily Independent newspaper. IGP orders arrest of Amotekun, Ebubago operatives at campaigns, with a rider there says the quasi-security outfits have no role in electoral process. And herdsmen kill 14, injure 15 in Benue communities. 6 die, 8 missing in Benue boat mishap. PDP crisis, resign if you truly love Atiku. Stakeholders tell Ayu, with riders there, he should be asked to step aside until after elections. Babatope speaking, I won't leave PDP for anybody. That's coming from Governor Nyesom Wike. And NMPC, U.S. corporationizing bank seal deal on gas project. Governors working on solutions to PDP crisis. And Tambuwal, Wabara assures of more united party before campaigns. Cholera outbreak claims 10 lives in Gombe. Atiku to Lai Mohammed. And you turn truths on its head. Otedola Yayale Ahmed Agwai Momo Hassan joined National Peace Committee. ICPC raises the alarm over daily diversion of public funds. Now today, Akeredolu vows to arm Amotekun against FG's directive, which riders there says if Katsina operatives bear AK-47, Amotekun can't be exception. All right, can we look at the issue of is it ICPC raising alarm over daily diversion of public funds. You know, in this country, I don't know if actually what Atiku is speaking to Lai Mohammed is actually the same thing that is happening to every sector in this nation. Atiku says you turn truths on its head. I don't know. Our own, we start crying after everything or after the deed has been done.
Well, I think, yes, it's an interesting story, you know, but I should go with the banner headline there first, you know, because IGP orders arrest of Amotekun, Ebubago operatives at the campaign, probably grounds, you know. Why I picked it up, you know, it's a security situation, you know. And yes, for me, I think it is a good thing that the message is coming now that the campaign or campaigns are about to commence. You know, because we need...
Let me add a question to what you're saying. Them speaking or saying this at this point in time, don't you think it's going to put fears in the minds of the electorates in terms of coming out to vote on election day?
No. It is not. Okay. You know why? It is even a kind of a raising confidence, you know, on the electorate, you know, that the security, you know, situation is under their control. So you and I know that we are at a very high level insecurity.
We know generally that there is insecurity.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to maybe side anybody, but, you know, I don't know what Akeredolu must have seen or must have the security, whatever intelligence they must have gotten, you know, that they started to speak of, you know, equipping the Amotekun. And of course, maybe the South is trying to say they need to equip the Ebubago or so. You don't know what, maybe, who knows what they must have, or the security intelligence they must have gotten at this point to start talking about equipping their security architecture at this point.
Yes, if we are actually operating a true federalism, we would understand the points from which the IGP is coming, you know, right, because we may not, you know.
Hello, sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and your location, please.
This is Charles from Kaduna.
Charles, you're welcome.
I want to talk about this security, this order from the IGP.
All right, go ahead.
It's very surprising that what's happening in the north is quite different from what's happening in the south. If you come to the north, you see all these little boys they call security outfits. They're all armed. And they're threatening to arrest people who are fighting crime in the south. I don't understand what's happening in this country. If very surprised, you see that even in the midst where the big men are sitting, you see these boys firing up, they're changing their guns up, displaying their capacity to harass people. But people are protecting like they are contesting about their concession. I don't understand this kind of country. The law that's applicable in the south different from those of us in the north. I don't understand. I've been asking the world to look into Nigeria issue. There's a lot of disparity in the justice system, in the equity system in this country. The south, look, you think that you are going to win an election for the south. These people will model things in the north, they will not allow people. They will do all kind of things that's illegal to win the election. They know that they're not meant to be. They're trying to deceive people. I'm telling you, this country, there's no truth in this nation. It's a fact. I've lived in the north for almost 50 years. I know what they're doing here. They're just trying to deceive people that they're doing the right thing. There's no truth in whatever they're saying. They know why they want to continue to portray the secret security in the south. That's the fact. We are from the north. We know what they're saying. That these people should take time with Nigeria. They should do the right thing in this country.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Charles, for that eye-opener contribution, so to speak. Okay, go on.
Yeah, let me take it off from there because we were at the point of the IG's order for the arrest of Amotekun, Ebubago and others, during campaigns. So what we're saying here, I think I will take it off from there in the sense that, yes, he confirmed the use of sophisticated weapons in the north by these non-state actors. So if you bring it now to the context here, you find out how has this helped in giving confidence to the system. If you see, an untrained personnel brandishing, sophisticated weapon within the campaign ground, how congenial would you see the environment? Of course, definitely you will not be comfortable. So it is proper that trained personnel will be allowed to carry arms, not just arms, sophisticated arms, to public places and where you see a lot of defenseless Nigerians, because we've been seeing trigger happy
Kingsley, do you think this is a debate between a trained personnel or untrained personnel? You can see what somebody that is living in the north has called to say. The man said he has lived there for more than 50 years.
Yeah.
Now, and we have insecurity all over. One begin to ask this question: why has they not used those arms they were carrying, to end the insecurity that has been ravaging the north over these years?
You still come back to where we are, because even with the proliferation of arms, to authorized and non-authorized. So when you want to talk about whether it is trained or non-trained, as long as those people are not empowered to carry the arms, we assume them not to be professional. So, and at that point, they are untrained. So we are talking about having a security structure, that gives Nigerians the confidence that they are safe. And these people, they don't project that. So as a matter of fact, they are not entitled to carrying weapons around.
Okay, we watch the drama unfold. We can go on and on, but our time is fast spent here. I don't know how this time flies anyway. We'd like to appreciate you so much for being a part of the show. Thank you, more especially Charles that called from Kaduna, and Chuku that called us from Ndiokbala. We are grateful for your tuning to ABS. Thank you so much, Kingsley Ogu, for your time here this morning. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, India Anambra. Thank you, Nigerians.
All right, do sit back. We have more coming on Good Morning Anambra Show.
Wake up the champion in your child. Give them energy to go further. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child. Milo. Wake up the champion in your child. Give them energy to go further. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child. Milo.